The autocratic government of Russia maintained influence and power over its subjects by the use of secret police, whose sole purpose was to find anyone that might be against the regime and arrest them or report them. The serfs of Russia were emancipated in the mid-19th century. However, their newfound freedom was not too different from their previous lives as serfs. Another oppressed group in Russia was the Jewish community, who experienced pogroms, which were organized attacks against Jewish communities. Congratulations, you've just been emancipated.
Cool! So I can leave the village whenever I want to and own my own land?
No, not exactly. I'm the mayor and you have to pay me for your land. And you have to ask me permission when you want to leave the village.
Okay.
During Russian imperialism into Asia, they came into conflict with the Japanese Empire. Shockingly, the Japanese defeated the Russians. The new focus on the war led to supply lines being cut to cities like Petrograd, which then started strikes and peaceful marches on the Winter Palace.
Soldiers mistook these marches for violent actions and opened fire on them. This massacre was known as Bloody Sunday. Nicholas II, seeing these different actions, decided to install the legislative body known as the Duma.
Tsar Nicholas II mobilized his troops to the Austro-Hungarian border, which was one of the main causes of World War I. During World War I, Nicholas and Russia fought on the side of the Triple Entente, later known as the Allies. Nicholas's focus shifted from the betterment of the country to running the military. Tsar Nicholas II was then forced to give up his throne due to the Russian Revolution, and Russia later pulled out of World War I.
After Tsar Nicholas II ran off to control the military during the Great War, Tsarina Alexandra was left to make decisions back at home. Alexandra's hemophiliac son gave her great unrest, until the Serbian mystic Gregory Rasputin promised to cure her son. Rasputin gained great influence on the Russian throne, which upset many of the Russians. Several Russian aristocrats set a trap and killed Gregory Rasputin. The first of many steps that would lead to the overthrow of the monarchy and lead the way for rebellion. Here's a short visual clip to show you how the assassination took place. On International Women's Day in March 1917, 10,000 women marched out Petrograd demanding peace and bread. They were soon joined by workers who demanded a general strike of all industry. The Duma assembled and formed the provisional government, which sought to create a new economic policy that would end all this rioting. The provisional government toppled the Tsarist regime and soon elected Alexander Kerensky, the moderate socialist, as their
A major authority that faced the new provisional government were the Soviets. The Soviets were mainly composed of socialists, including the Marxist Social Democratic Party. It had divided into two parts previously, the Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks. With the Bolsheviks' slight majority in the Petrograd Soviets, Lenin was able to convince his fellow members of the Bolshevik Party that now was the time for revolution and time to overthrow the provisional government. And with the combination of the Petrograd Soviets, led by Leon Trotsky, and the Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, the November revolutions of 1917 began. On November 6th, the provisional government collapsed with very little bloodshed. On November 8th, Lenin officially announced the new Soviet government. The Soviet regime had officially begun. Vladimir Lenin was the leader of the Bolshevik Party. He had come to his position of leader when his older brother had been executed for attempting to overthrow the Tsarist government. Lenin had searched for many years for a revolutionary faith and eventually found Marxism. He later used speeches and work that would reflect most of Marxism's values, including with his own. Lenin came to power in the new Soviet government. Some of his first social changes was to abolish capitalism and institute communist changes, like handing over factories to committees of workers, distributing land to the peasants, and ending the war with the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk.
The Russian Civil War began in 1917 following the revolutions of that year. The Russian Civil War consisted of many factions, however it was fought primarily by the Bolshevik-endorsed Red Army, led by Vladimir Lenin, and the White Army, led by Alexander Kolchak. This war was marked by atrocities on both sides and ended in 1922 with the Red Army victory.
Bang! Surrender now! Our troops and organization is superior to yours.
Yeah? Bang. During the Russian Civil War, Vladimir Lenin instituted a war communism government. War communism allowed the government to ensure regular supplies to the army. Following the Civil War, the new Red Secret Police, the Cheka, suppressed any anti-communist ideas.